there's some absolute bangers that are in that genre or medium of film that need to be explored. And we've seen it time and time again with Korean films. And I'm sure, again, like I said, all the other cultures out there in their films, they've got some of the best movies out there. And I always think to myself, if I keep narrowing my list down to Hollywood, I'll never find what truly might be my favorite movie of all time.
Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of Decision to Leave. My name is Daniel. I am one of your hosts today, and joining alongside me as always are my fellow inspectors, Anthony.
Hello, everyone.
And Shahbaz.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing today?
If they could respond, they would say they are doing great, because this is a new episode of the movie podcast. This is one that we've been looking forward to talking about for a very long time, and we're finally here. Anthony, how are you doing, though, today?
I'm doing well. I'm just, living my life. I'm excited for the next couple of weeks. It's going to be like some wild things. We got Avatar, we have Babylon, we have our Christmas commentary that's coming out. So it's just, we're planning everything. We're just getting it out of the way, as Martin Lawrence said in Bad Boys.
It's funny, like, I'm looking at the calendar and I'm looking at all the things that we have to do still. And I'm like, I feel like we're in a Christmas movie right now where it's like, there's so much to do, but we don't have any time. And that's how my voice would be in that movie as well. Right? No?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Absolutely.
You just guys were.
It didn't feel like you were asking us a question. It didn't feel like you were like asking us to join.
You thought it was like rhetorical?
You were just like, yeah, this is the situation. I was also kind of distracted.
No.
I was kind of distracted by Anthony's. I don't know if anyone can see unless you're watching on YouTube. But Anthony,
of course
you've gone more blonde all of a sudden. It's like the closer we get to the birth of Christ, the closer we get to you being blonder.
Exactly. Yes. As Jesus was blonde when he was born, I'm trying to reenact that same hair color. Yes.
That's interesting.
Not the length, just the color. Most people go length. No one goes color though.
Everybody knows that Jesus was blonde hair and had blue
eyes, right?
Absolutely.
We know that 100%. That is a fact. That is a historical fact.
Yep.
You could look it up on Facebook.
I have
not
enough
my skin tone at all.
I have enough paintings in my house that's blonde and blue. That's how he is. So
he was a white guy.
Yep,
he was. He most definitely was. Today, this is our review of Decision to Leave. This film will be releasing on MUBI, which is a name that you should be very familiar with here on the Movie Podcast. It will be available this Friday, December 9th, and we highly encourage you to check it out. Of course, this episode of the Movie Podcast is also brought to you by MUBI. So, listen. We run ads on our show. We run ads for MUBI. We've been wanting to see this movie long before we were partnered with MUBI. So again, take what we say with a grain of salt. If you don't believe us, that's fine. But I do want to say that we are not paid for reviews. We are paid for advertisements. And sometimes there could be things that line up like this. Just full disclosure, we are partnering with them for advertisements on this episode, but that does not influence how we look at movies, how we criticize movies, and what our thoughts and original opinions are. So just full disclosure on that. But I do want to say, as always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday. And watch out throughout the week for our reviews and interviews on all the latest movies and series. Like Anthony said at the top of the show, we have so much going on right now. And believe it or not, we are already working on interviews and episodes for the new year. It never stops here on the Movie Podcast, even though we will be taking a few weeks off at the end of the month in early January. So stay tuned for all of that. Check out our show notes for all of those links and more. And I do want to encourage you, please check out our Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. We have some incredible clips from all of the amazing interview opportunities that we've been getting. We've been releasing clips from our Eric Bauza interview, John Landau, who is the producer of Avatar, Titanic, Avatar: The Way of Water, and so many more. You don't want to miss those clips. So make sure you follow us on any social media platform that you are on. And yeah, there's lots to look forward to. So we're so excited. Shay, what are you looking forward to most out of everything going on in December? So we know we have Babylon coming up. We have some other interviews coming up. What's exciting you right now?
Babylon has got me the most, I think, curious, I would say, because I've only watched the trailer once to not retain much from it, to kind of go in as blind as possible while watching it. So I'm curious because it just looks like it's going to take me by surprise. Avatar, I'm also very excited for, but I kind of have an expectation of what I'm going to get with that.
For sure.
So I'm excited for everything here, but most importantly, and this is, no offense to anybody out there, I'm excited to just take a break. I can't wait
Yes,
to
definitely.
just have about a couple of days or a week or two off, or just with our families. No major break. Like, I was talking to a friend of mine and I said, she was like, "Oh, what are you going to be doing? Like, are you guys going to take a break from the show?" I'm like, "Yeah, unless something earth shattering happens, we're taking a break. Like Spider-Man leaving the MCU again, or
Again,
who knows?" Like,
that's
I
our
think
litmus test, right?
I
That's
think
our
at
that's
this
our
point,
level, a
yeah, I think at
barometer.
this point it's like Henry Cavill leaving the DCU. I think that, or DC, is it what do they
DCU,
call it now? Just DCU, right?
DCU, yeah.
Yeah, so something like that I think is like the highest level now of us doing an emergency episode. But for almost 2 weeks, I think I won't know you guys and I won't talk to you guys, and that'll be a blessing, I think.
It's true because we are not friends outside of the show.
No,
The show brings
no,
us together, but it does not keep us together outside of here.
we've
I
never
do
been in
want
the
to
same
say
room.
no, never. I do all want to also say that if you want to keep the conversation going even after the episode's finished, make sure you join our Discord. We're having some great conversations in there, some great questions in there. And, with the holiday season going on, we want to know what you're watching. We want to know what your traditions are. So please let us know in our Discord. Shay asked a great question this week about what was your first, Christmas movie that you remember watching. And I have a feeling, all of the questions this month will be holiday related. So let's have some great conversations in there. We'd love to see it. And if you are watching this on YouTube and you are able to see Anthony's beautiful blonde hair, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment. We love what we're doing. We love seeing you. We love being on camera, and we want to keep doing this even more so in the new year. So please subscribe, support us that way. That means the world to us. Also, as I said, this episode is brought to you by our friends at MUBI. Stay tuned later in the show to see how you can get a whole month of incredible cinema for free. So stay tuned for all of that. But today, like we said, this is our review of Decision to Leave. This film is directed by Park Chan-wook, and it also premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, and it was at TIFF. And Park Chan-wook also won Best Director at the Cannes Film Festival for this film. So that's been highly anticipated. I'm definitely thinking we're going to see it do some work come the award seasons going forward. And I'm really hoping we have some more discussions and interviews coming for this film. But I'm going to kick it to Shay to give you the synopsis for this film.
From a mountain peak in South Korea, a man plummets to his death. Did he jump or was he pushed? When Detective Hae-joon arrives on the scene, he begins to suspect the dead man's wife, Seo-rae, but as he digs deeper into the investigation, he finds himself trapped in a web of deception and desire.
That was a great reading, Shay. Thank you so much for doing that. Of course,
Desire.
desire. Of course, like we said, this film is going to be available on MUBI to stream starting December 9th, and you're going to want to do that. Anthony, take it away. Give us your first reactions to Decision to Leave.
Park Chan-wook is one of my favorite directors. He's made some of my favorite films, from Old Boy to Lady Vengeance, Stoker, and The Handmaiden, which was, I think, his most recent one. He has a unique style of directing and storytelling. He leaves like a mark that you always remember, like a Park Chan-wook film. Like he's just so unique in his movie, in his storytelling, and his directing, that he always leaves like that impression. Like, yeah, I remember that scene. Yeah, that was like seductive. Holy shit, I remember that scene in Old Boy where he's just carving through a bunch of people. So this is like a director that is just a masterful director. And I don't feel like a lot of people get him or have heard of him before or know of his work. Or, I think in certain mediums like ours, where we have a certain niche filmmaking fan base, they might have. But I feel like in the general populace, he's not well known. Like Bong Joon-ho is now the most famous Korean director, but Park is so fantastic. And Decision to Leave is another one of those films. Going to a more tamed approach from that gonzo revenge tale that we're so used to, Decision to Leave is that gripping love story that frames itself around a murder mystery, but ultimately is about a bound between two people that transcend the crime, we'll say. Is masterfully written and directed. Park draws such interesting characters to the story that you kind of go through this emotional roller coaster that you want to stay on but also jump off. You're kind of like in this in between. You'll find yourself laughing, you'll find yourself crying, gasping, absolutely shocked, especially at the ending of this film is definitely shocking. It's so detailed and delicate. It's a movie where you might think you know the answers, but all logic and sense of those answers are thrown out the window. And you end up looking for answers, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes sense. But it's a film that makes you feel a lot of different things. And I'm going to say Park Hae-il, and I'm trying to pronounce the names correctly. These are the two main actors and actress. Park Hae-il and Tang Wee's chemistry is flawless. They bring rawness, realism, and complexity to their character that you haven't seen on screen. And this movie really says something about the culture. Like I'm not Korean. I don't live in Korea. I don't know what it's like to like tell a story or even think of a story like this, but this is something you haven't seen on screen before. It's just a complex love story that makes sense at the end, and it's beautiful. It's actually really really beautiful. It's beautifully shot. I think Kim Ji-young, cinematographer of this film, absolutely kills it with the cinematography for it. Like the crashing of waves have never been so. And I watch a lot of White Lotus, and the crashing of waves this year in that show and in this film really builds tension. I can't believe like crashing of waves can build so much tension that makes you feel so uneasy. Um, Overall, this is a stunning film. Like I don't know what else to say. Like it's absolutely beautiful. It's you. I think a lot of people will watch it and feel like it's like a movie that you have to watch maybe once or twice to really grasp it and get to understanding, just because of the storytelling and the way it goes. But it's just stunning, man. It's just stunning film. It's filmmaking like no other. I hope that makes sense to our audience.
No, Anthony, listen, I was just thinking, and I'm sure this is the same for Shay, that I think we could just end the review here because I think you just
Absolutely.
beautifully summed up everyone's thoughts on this film.
How do I turn off my mic?
But yeah, I think what we're seeing here is a director who is just at the absolute pinnacle of his craft. Park directed such a beautiful, haunting, mesmerizing, and I keep thinking of the word alluring, because you are just glued to your screen watching this. And one of my favorite things about watching foreign films, and granted, I should watch more of them, and that's why I love using MUBI, because you get a whole world of cinema at your fingertips. No, but like one of the wonderful things about watching foreign films is that we grow so accustomed to the format and the layout of films, where when you're going into a film like this, you don't know, you're on your back heels, because you're just wondering where this is going to go, because this film doesn't follow those same archetypes. It doesn't follow those same tropes that that North American films typically do. And it really does come down to the performances of Tang and Park Hae-il, who are phenomenal throughout this film. They are just so connected to one another, and you are just glued to your screen watching their performances. It really is something. And of course, Anthony, you brought up Kim Ji-young cinematography, who throughout this movie, I was just like, how is this shot happening? This is amazing. Some of the best cinematography of the year, hands down. If they are not nominated for an Academy Award for best cinematography in a film, it is a shame, because the shots in this film that were being pulled off are unlike anything I've ever seen and are so masterful. Shay, jump on in.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys pretty much kind of summed it up here, because this is a film that keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's a movie that you have no idea where it's going to go next, and the whole time I'm watching this, I felt like I was watching art. It literally just felt like something beautiful being painted on the screen. And Kim Ji-young, first of all, from what I'm seeing on IMDb, this is their only credit. So
how dare they? First of all,
like, I think just pack up your bags at this point, because how are you gonna top this movie? This movie gives you perspective from perception that you've never seen before. You're seeing shots taking place from inside of a phone, inside of the water, inside of a window. And sometimes, we watch movies and we watch shows where they kind of reuse the same narrative or same style of framing. This movie might do that, but it makes it interesting every time, because you never know what the intention behind each shot is. It is It is gripping. It is thrilling. And even though there's not a word of English really in this movie, I couldn't help just be fascinated by what was going on. Foreign language films are some of the best in the world. And it's because they have the ability to break boundaries. They don't have to worry about catering to a wide audience. They just have to worry about catering to the person watching that movie. And this movie does a phenomenal job of that. I was just so blown away by it because I mean I already know Park Chan-wook is a phenomenal director. We know we've seen his work. We know that he's brilliant. But how do you keep excelling in that field? You know, he's also a very young director in my eyes. Like he's 59 years old, and some of his best work was when he was really, really young. So he's coming at this with a movie that still has that level of seduction that he likes to bring, but at the same time, it's just a damn cinematography in this movie that really made me go, I can't keep my eyes away from this. Like, this is the most beautiful movie I've ever seen. It is stunning. I can't wait to rewatch this over and over because I'm going to be picking apart the different styles, the different aesthetics that they've used. There's so much in this movie that I know I missed on my first viewing, like you mentioned, Anthony. Not even narrative wise, but just how they framed certain things, what the intention is, what they're trying to show us. This is that movie. This is that movie that you study. This is that movie that you watch in film class, but also you watch at home because it's got a great story, great performances, and on top of that, it's just damn good to look at.
You know, Shay, you mentioned just a small correction. Kim Ji Young, who is the cinematographer, I am looking on MUBI, and they do have a bunch of other film credits that may have not been shown on IMDb.
Thank you.
Decision to Leave, obviously, there's Swing Kids, The Fortress, The Age of Shadows, Hansel and Gretel, which is a 2007 South Korean film, Doomsday Book, A Monster Boy, A Bittersweet Life, and also The Last Stand, which is the film with Arnold Schwarzenegger. They were the cinematographer of, which is very interesting.
That's interesting. So
to think.
I'm gonna have to send my complaints to IMDb because what kind of database is this, man? Like, come on.
That's why on MUBI it has everything you want to know. And again, it's just funny that it's like you think sometimes where it's like, you know, there are so many cinematographers.
Oh, you know why? For I'm not, again, I'm not too sure if this is the same thing, but they're credited on The Last Stand as Ji Young Kim.
Okay. Could be just like a name mistake or just an American way of doing it.
Could be.
But what's interesting is that like on obviously on MUBI, like you could search by cinematographer, which is great because you also want to, you know, we also sing the praises of a director so much in the actors, but it's also the whole team behind it. This film, Decision to Leave, we've been hearing so much about it in the summer and then at TIFF, and I really wish that we were able to watch this at TIFF, but you know the way our schedule was with things that we couldn't make it happen. And then
we had tickets,
and then finally watching it now, it's just like, man, like this is beautiful. Like as we've been saying for the last 15 minutes, that this is a film that I think, Shay, you said it so well, is that you want to watch this a couple times. Like I haven't stopped thinking about it. I'm so excited to revisit it and watch it, knowing what I know now, watching it from the very beginning and going through that, because there's great action in this film, but there's also just the drama that keeps you on the edge of your seat. And when a drama is able to really grip you and you're watching every movement, every eye twitch, every just breath that someone's taking, you're watching everything in this film. And that's what's so wonderful about it. You know, I think, you know, when we think of, oh my God, I'm blanking on the director's name for Parasite now.
Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah, when we think of, you know, his speech from the Oscars, you know, when you get past that barrier of, you know, an inch on your screen, like you're opened up to a world of films. And this is a film that should be on everybody's best of the year list. Like this is such a wonderfully, beautifully made film, masterfully crafted by Park, that I'm just completely mesmerized, and I keep thinking about it the last couple days since watching it. So it's pretty amazing.
It would be a shame if it didn't get the nominations. Like this movie it was surprisingly, like, again, I didn't know much about it going into it. So when I watched it and then I found out it was Park, and I kind of like did the research after, it's just shocking. Like this guy hasn't been nominated for any type of, we'll say, North American, that Academy that, again, I hate awards, but again, to be acknowledged is always great. But his writing and his directing, because he wrote this film and he directed it, to not be nominated is just absolutely shocking if he doesn't get nominated for this film, for foreign film, for best I think this is original screenplay, for best director, for best picture. because this is that Bong Joon, it's that Bong Joon Ho moment for this director now. Like it's such a good film. Like I just can't believe how good it was. It just felt like I had all this to say and I didn't know how to like express it because it was so complex. It's such a complex story.
No, I was just gonna say this feels like, I use this lightly, his most accessible movie in the sense that there's themes and elements here that for sure can be tough, but I think compared to his other films, like you look at The Handmaiden, you look at Old Boy, and so on and so forth, they might be a little bit tougher because of the subject matter that can take place. And this movie does have some tough subject matter, but I feel like it's easier to kind of get through than some of the other ones. And I think for that reason, this is a lot more accessible. This is a lot much of a wider film, and I hope that people go out and support it, go out and watch it. I mean, we've had a great year of movies. Like this is one of the best years in a very, very long time. And I'm so proud and happy to say that this movie can definitely reach in my top 10. I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of this year, we're getting very close to it. It does. And then, I don't think all three of us have watched RRR yet. And all we keep hearing about that is how fantastic that movie is. So to see foreign language films finally getting that appreciation, it's too slow in my opinion. Like I don't think we're there yet where we should be, but I'm really hoping that moving forward we can kind of break down that barrier of Hollywood and just watch movies, because there's a world of cinema out there. I grew up watching Bollywood movies with my family. There's some absolute bangers that are in that genre or medium of film that need to be explored, and we've seen it time and time again with Korean films. And I'm sure, again, like I said, all the other cultures out there in their films, they've got some of the best movies out there. And I always think to myself, if I keep narrowing my list down to Hollywood, I'll never find what truly might be my favorite movie of all time.
The only thing I hope that doesn't happen is a North American version of the story, which I know it will. And it's
gonna
just
happen.
like you gotta.
It's gonna happen, Anthony.
Am
You're
I?
gonna direct
Well,
it.
I'll take Park's movie and just dub it because it's just like there shouldn't be a North. This is it. This is the film.
This is the version of the story, right?
I just hope that doesn't happen.
All the best foreign language films do get remade, and again, have your opinion on that. It sucks in my opinion because you lose the authenticity of what it is. Like you look back at anime, you're watching Pokemon, or Dragon Ball Z, or whatever it is. The Japanese versions of those shows are some of the best because you get that feel of those characters. You don't really get that when you translate these kind of movies over, because that cultural element that is so prevalent in these movies doesn't translate always the best way when you're trying to do it into Hollywood. Like I know we're getting a Parasite TV
if
series,
that's happening, but I believe Bong Joon-ho is no longer attached to it because he was going to do it with Adam McKay, and now I don't think that's happening.
Adam McKay.
Do you need it?
And then for so long, yeah, and then we have the Raid movies, which is directed by a white guy, but it is a Thai film, Indonesian film. So, but we're getting a remake of those too. It's like, do we need these?
But you wonder though, because again, I know this is a bit off topic, but you wonder if that's going to even happen, because you would have thought.
You do wonder.
It happens so close to the release of the film that we don't hear anything. Sometimes it works out really well when you look at something like The Departed. It could turn out really, really well, but you also have Martin Scorsese behind that. But and who also turned it into his own thing. But there's I think there's a market for it, but you don't always need it. And if you're just going to do a carbon copy of what already exists because you want it to be in an English language, then you need to overcome that barrier of subtitles if you want to understand what's going on.
Were they doing a good year with Mads that movie?
Yes, that's another one that was going to be an American version, which is so bizarre because you don't need to do that. Yeah,
you don't need it. That movie's the way it is because of the culture and language.
But let's get to our final recommendations of Decision to Leave. I'm going to kick us off. I'm going to say this is an easy watch it for me. This was just masterfully made, a beautiful film. It's one that I have not stopped thinking about, from the performances to the cinematography, which you are literally going to stop, go back, see the shots through the phone. It's wild. There's some interrogation scenes that I was just blown away by, things I've never seen before in a film. Decision to Leave does that. It is worth your time. Make time for it. Watch it on MUBI. Shay, I'm going to kick it to you.
I'm gonna give it a straight up watch it. Like, this movie makes me angry as to how good it is, in the sense that it's just so beautiful that I'm watching it. I'm like, how has this never been done before? How have I not seen these shots done this well in other movies? So my God, like, yeah, watch it. Just watch this.
It's
movie,
funny. There
please.
are moments, when we talk about, we mentioned the phones and the shots. Please, American films steal how they do it, because it's so much better than, text popping up on a screen or things like that. It's just so much better handled in this film, like I've never seen before, and that's just creative thinking. Anthony,
We have a lot of these that we can give away, and I don't think I've used enough of them. And there's these gems, and they just sit on my table, and I'm just gonna give this a real gem, because there's no limit to how many real gems we can give, and I'm gonna give it a real gem.
There's not, no.
Because there's only legally there's only one more movie after this, or two movies after this one that we watched that we're gonna review. But I'm gonna give it a real gem because it deserves it. I was blown away. I'm in love with this film. I can't wait to watch it again and like really focus on all the intricacies of it, and just the amazing storytelling and things that I missed and things that probably were right in front of me that I didn't get. This is a definite. You got to go watch it. Subscribe to MUBI or like wherever, find it at a cinema that does foreign films. You need to watch this movie right away.
I love it. Thank you so much for listening to our review of Decision to Leave. Of course, if you want to watch the film on MUBI, you can do so on December 9th. And like we said at the top of the show, this episode is brought to you by MUBI. So if you want to get a whole month free of incredible cinema, check out our show notes below. You get a whole month on us. You're welcome. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and get a whole month to watch movies this whole month. You definitely want to do it and start with Decision to Leave because it is phenomenal. I also want to say, as always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday. Watch out throughout the rest of the week for our interviews, our reviews on all the latest movies and series. We got Avatar coming up. We got Babylon coming up. And we got some interviews for Avatar coming your way very, very soon, as well as so many more in the new year. So stay tuned for all of that and more. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. Check out the show notes below for everything. That was This Time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.